Welcome to the PeaceLoveWar podcast. I'm your host, PeaceLoveWar, and without further ado, let's get into the show. What's going on, everybody? This is your host, PeaceLoveWar here, and this is going to be podcast number 1 going up on the channel. I hope y'all enjoy. A little bit of background information on myself. I'm finishing up my Bachelor of Science at the University of Arizona, which is located right off the United States Southern Arizona and Mexico border. Throughout my childhood, I've been an extremely active individual. At one point in time during my youth, I was playing 5 sports at one time. Now, some people may think that's impossible. Well, I'm the living truth, baby. I'm sorry for my friends. That's not fake news. It truly happened. I was around 5 years old when that happened, thus I had plenty of time to dedicate to my athletic prowesses. In my adolescent years, meaning from middle school to high school years, the 2 sports that resonated with me the most were swimming and baseball. I was good enough to play either of those sports at the collegiate level and above. But in the summer before my senior year of high school, I dislocated my shoulder, and the whole region of my left shoulder has never been the same since. But that's enough background information on me for now. So I realize that the majority of people that interact with podcasts in today's day and age are solely audio viewers, so I'm going to be uploading clips of myself doing cardio in the background. I'm recording the cardio with my GoPro Hero 3 Plus. It's fairly old. Still takes good videos. So if you do want to view this podcast, there will be videos of myself performing great feats of cardio. In my opinion, cardio is like white noise for the soul. But either way, there will be an endless stream of flowing data to your eyeballs if you do choose to be a viewer versus purely listening to the audio-only version of this show. A little bit of background information on this podcast. The topics which this podcast will cover will range from life advice, hot trending topics in society today, stories, tips, tricks that I've accumulated during the duration of my stay on this rock that we call Earth. Hopefully my content will be able to reach out and touch at least just a few of your souls in a positive manner. Now, bear with me, folks. This is my first time recording a large portion of content that is going to be placed upon the World Wide Web or the Wi-Fi, which I'm pretty sure is what the young kids are calling it these days. So if there are a few errors, stumbles, mistakes, you find yourself becoming more entertained by the plainly painted walls surrounding you, I sincerely apologize for the inconvenience that I've caused. But I'm confident that if you truly listen to what I have to say, you will walk away from this show at least a little bit better than before you came, which is really all one can ask for these days. We're gonna reach the light at the end of the tunnel, so to speak. Okay, without further ado, let's get into the show. The main topic of the podcast today, which we will be digesting through the several trillion synapses that our neural network has provided so generously for us. Well, hopefully most of you have more than just a few several trillion. I mean, the average person should have around 100 trillion synapses, but I digress. The topic of today's medium is an old proverb that originates from a Navajo Indian tribe way back before any of us were even thought about. The quote goes, "You can't wake someone that is pretending to be asleep." I'm going to reiterate this quote one more time to really let it sink in for the distracted listeners. The saying goes, you cannot wake someone up that is pretending to be asleep. So at first glance, when hearing this saying, I thought, wow, that's a pretty interesting oxymoron. But upon further digging and delving into the sentence, I realized that this is quite a profound statement. The aforementioned idea is alluding to the concept that the sleeping individual is either in a state of manic depression or they have experienced something traumatic that is stopping them from reaching their true potential in this reincarnation. The sleeping person may be caught in negative reoccurring loops. When I say loops, what I mean is you have 24 hours in a day. During those 24 hours, towards the end, you fall asleep and reset for the next 24-hour period. This is what I mean by a negative loop. It can be interpreted as a negative daily routine that is transformed into one's life. They cannot see any other way out of their current existence. Thus, they are awake, yet asleep. This can be very detrimental to the person and the local peers that they surround themselves with. This quote is analogous to someone that is trying to avoid reality and limit their experience here in the space and time continuum. Now, there are several ways in which one can approach a problem like this. What I would recommend the sleeping person do is to try their best to confront, at least define the problem, meaning let it be known what the situation is that they've gotten themselves into. What's bothering this individual? What has forced them, or what path have they taken that has forged them into the person that they are today? Now, there are exceptions to this. If you're in a rut because of natural imbalances in hormones or other pertinent biological mechanisms are not functioning correctly, then your being has encountered a problem that I cannot help. Only medical science can tackle that one. I would suggest seeing a doctor to repair that, but in general, the majority of people that have been caught living in a slumber are fully capable of fixing their problems. Now, there is a way to get yourself out of this slump or rut, but it's going to take a lot of desire, dedication, and determination. It'll also take the help of your local support system. But before anyone can fix themselves, they must come to the understanding whether they want to believe it or not. They must realize that as a human race, we are a product of our reality and solely that. All we have to judge off of is the totality of our life experience. This forges us into the being that we are presently. So before anyone can be woken up from a seemingly woke hibernation, they must be able to come to the realization of how and why they are in the situation that they are in currently. They must come to terms with the problem or problems or challenges that they are repressing on a daily basis. Once this person has figured out what the matter at hand is, then they must move on to the next step, which would be to actively try to reprimand their negative routines or actions going into the future. Now, this is one of the most difficult parts about getting out of the hole that has been created. I would suggest having a support group to be able to freely and safely confide in when times get tough, but going at it alone can be quite daunting and a rather formidable task. Knowing that you have a community or a group of individuals which you trust, love, and can immensely help you when you need support to fall back on. But even with these positive reinforcers, it all comes down to the individual that is metaphorically asleep. They need to be the ones to decide that they are no longer going to live one more second stuck or trapped in the negative habits or their current way of life. They need to be the ones to realize and implement change, because no matter how much your support group can help, it all comes down to the person that's afflicted, wanting to change for themselves. I'm able to say these things because I've been a sleeping being. I've been depressed. After I injured my shoulder, I went to several doctors and none of them were able to help, which led me into an awful state of drudge and meaningless. And I didn't realize that I was depressed until at the end of 1 week a few years back. I woke up in my bed and realized I hadn't moved from my bed for a whole week. Not even to get anything, not to get water, food. I just lie in my own puddle of sorrow and despair until I realized that I was going to die if I kept things going the way they were. Looking back upon it, it felt as if I was trapped in Dante's Inferno's 9 circles of hell. I was just slowly meandering back and forth between each circle. Let's just say it wasn't the best time. I was not able to snap out of my seemingly chronic illness immediately. This did not happen overnight, but in life, does anything worthwhile happen at a snap of your fingers? I think not. But overall, it really comes down to a personal decision. Do you want to stay the way you are, or do you want to change? Do you want to be the best version of yourself? Or do you want to be a rotting clump of feces slowly deteriorating until there is nothing but dust left? I believe inside every single one of us there is potential for the hero archetype, awaiting to come out and see the light of day. All we have to do is travel into the darkest corners of our mind and clean up all of the miscreant creatures that we have lazily given the opportunity to find an abode in the temples that we call our mind, body, spirit. Society today wants and really needs more people to fulfill the role of the hero archetype. When I say we need more people to fulfill the role of the hero archetype, I'm not referencing a comic book character such as the vigilante Batman. I'm saying that first, we need people to maximize their potential so they can have the ability to maximize the potential of their peers. According to Jordan Peterson, a hero is an individual that is able to thrive in whatever hierarchy they are placed in. In essence, this means that no matter what the situation that you're in presently, if you have the courage to or are able to tap into the hero archetype that resides in all of us, then you are able to win the day. You're able to conquer each task as if it were an objective that needs to be completed. Let's run a little thought experiment here that will help further allude to the point that I am making. Pretend that life is a game. A hero would face each problem or objective that arises level by level and would not rest until he completes every single objective on each level, thus leveling themselves up or climbing to the top of the game or hierarchy. But the main difference between a high-level player and a hero is that the hero is willing to play the game in such a way that he's leveling up his peers along the journey, thus being invited to play more and more games or challenging levels. Whereas a high-level player will not allocate any time or effort making his peers stronger on every level that the hero encounters. Not only is the hero able to find the fortitude to surpass a level, but he's also able to help increase the prosperity of his peers as well. The hero archetype is one who can excel and help the community excel to the next level, so to speak. But in the end, it comes down to whether the person that is sleeping wants to wake themselves up or keep lying dormant. They have to decide for themselves that they are going to try their best to be the best version of themselves. Now that we've laid out a general path or format with which one can use to better themselves, I'm going to talk about what one can do in general to set themselves up for success, to make sure that all of their priorities are aligned so they can play a bigger role and help the broader community. One of the first things that should be done is you need to make sure your bedroom is sanitary, clean, and in order. I'm getting this from Jordan Peterson's book, The 12 Rules of Life. I highly recommend you read it. This man is able to bring order from chaos like no other, in my experience. But when I say you need to have your room in order, I'm saying this because you can't expect to be able to better your local or broader community if you can't even keep the chaos in your room from ensuing or taking over. Let me give y'all the cold hard truth here. You need to have your priorities in check. I'm going to let you in on a little known fact here. There are an overflowing amount of variables that contribute to the conglomerate community, whereas there are very few variables that contribute to the mess that is being created in your room. How do you expect to be able to tackle the problems of the larger community when you can't even manage the chaos that you have created in your room? This is a travesty when you think about it. I mean, for the most part, everyone wants to be improving themselves. Everyone wants to be leveling up in the game that we call life. Most people even want society as a collective to progress, but there is absolutely, positively no way that you can deal with the chaos or problems that we as a society have accumulated and stockpiled up if you can't even deal with your own problems. Okay, now assuming that you've conquered the chaos that is your room and restored it to full order, you'll be better suited for tomorrow's problems. The chances of you being able to merely consider or start to ponder society's problems and look for the answers are much more likely. Once you're able to approach the problems of society, you're on the path to becoming a hero, so to speak. Okay, that's my short Jordan Peterson spiel for this podcast. Let's move on to another similar topic. This topic is comfort television shows. Now, most people who enjoy television have a single or maybe even a few shows that they love tuning on and leaving on as a form of white noise in the background, or what seems like to me as a simple, oftentimes comedic, temporary distraction from life. Most of the times, if you have a comfort TV show, then you've already watched it through several times. I find these types of data to be overwhelmingly of the sitcom genre, but they don't always have to be. There's obviously always outliers in every sort of population. Maybe this type of content helps give insight or hints of enlightenment for the average person, but I find this type of content to be lowering my vibrations, so to speak. After watching these shows, I often feel like I have lost more than I've gained. For the most part, if you've seen the show several times, then you already know what is going to happen, and there are very minimal surprises. These shows may be appealing, they may be entertaining, they may be comedic, but overall, I believe they have a negative or detrimental impact on your life. I feel these shows are providing an unsustained trip from reality or from the ego, but they do not solve any issues. They are merely a distraction, and it is a distraction that I feel we should eliminate from the majority of our lives. If you have issues that need to be dealt with and confronted, there's absolutely no reason for you to be distracting yourself with some blatant garbage nonsense that will have none or very little lasting impact upon the quality of your life in the grand scheme of things. If you're using comfort television to avoid your problems, then you're in essence becoming your own worst enemy. You're placing unnecessary barriers to prosperity and success just because you want temporary physical pursuits of pleasure. Unless you have accomplished all the tasks for your day, you have absolutely nothing else to do, then whatever. Go all out. Have a blast. Watch something that you've already seen a copious amount of times before. But for me, I feel I have a lower sense of well-being, and oftentimes I feel like I've lost bits and pieces of my life to this type of content. The most important aspect of life that I feel I've lost from these shows is my time. And that is one of the most precious commodities that we possess the ability to control. We can choose how we spend our time in this life. Let me ask you this. If you're lucky enough to become a senior citizen, otherwise an old fart, how do you want your memory to be of your life as an able and active individual? In my opinion, save that shit for when you're old and have nothing better to do. Save the comfort television shows for a time when you really can't do anything. But for now, experience the world. Be active while you can. Because let me tell you, it doesn't last forever. That's one thing I can guarantee you. What I would suggest you do in place of watching comfort television shows is to meditate. Now, I realize that this idea may sound insane or outlandish to some, or possibly even many, but this is most likely because you've been distracted with a constant flow of data running straight through the squishy little ovals that we call eyeballs, from waking up to falling asleep, day in, day out, browsing, browsing, browsing. I believe that it is very easy to fall prey to our technological devices because biologically speaking, we are wired to find ways that release dopamine. And our devices are a modern day hack for that. It comes at a great cost. If you get caught up in one of these vicious cycles that our society as a whole seems to be trapped in, then I believe meditation can have a profound impact upon your life. I mean, it has a profound impact on everyone that utilizes the technique. If it didn't, there wouldn't be individuals like forest monks that literally dedicate their lives in silence and solitude fully immersing themselves and becoming one with nature. Now, if that's not an example of an enlightened school of thought, then I don't know what is. But not everyone has to take such a polar stance on the technique. I mean, practicing the mindfulness meditation would be a great place to start if you've not tried meditating before. What I often try to do when I meditate is to be situated in a comfortable position with good posture so the body is relieved of any unnecessary pressure buildup on the joints or any other focal points. Then I start by focusing on my breathing. In, out, deep breaths. Once I notice my heart rate start to lower, I slowly start to relax every muscle and body part, starting from my forehead and eyes and ending with my feet. I close my eyes to eliminate any unwarranted data, because that's a big distraction. Once I feel my whole body relaxed, while I'm simultaneously focusing on my breathing, I try to clear my mind. Once I've quieted myself down, then I try to exist in this state for as long as possible. But eventually, thoughts, worries, issues, problems I'm having, they may come to the surface. I let these ideas overwhelm my mental process until I've sorted it out to a satisfiable extent. Then I try to resonate back to emptiness, the whole time still focusing on my breathing. Make sure your whole body's relaxed. But eventually, another issue will come to the surface, and I keep on entertaining the ebb and flow of my ego and ideas until I no longer feel any mental anguish, stress, or negative stimuli causing an impact on my existence. After I meditate, I feel I have more energy, enthusiasm, and a higher quality of life overall. But obviously, the high wears off eventually, which is why this is a daily endeavor. But I also feel that our biological framework is wired to look for any and every little stressor possible. Especially in modern times, we have no real dangers besides ourselves and the chaos that persists out in the world. Our central nervous system encounters such a small amount of real stress that it starts to create perceived stress out of literally nothing for the most part. I found that the vast majority of times that these negative stressors build up in my mind, they turn out to be completely irrelevant or misplaced when really pondered in great depth. Now let's get back to the previously mentioned release of dopamine. Dopamine is just one of the several compounds that are released to help us with the emotion happiness. Dopamine has 3 other friends that make up a quartet of happiness, so to speak. This includes serotonin, oxytocin, and several other various endorphins. There is no simple or easy way to find the perfect balance to these chemicals in the brain. But let me tell you, watching an endless stream of meaningless data all day will not get you where you want to be. In general, nothing worthwhile comes easily. That's why hard work and persistence is such a highly regarded attribute given to an individual. If you look inside and dig deep, if you dig deep enough, you will find at least one thing that you truly desire. Now, this doesn't have to be a career goal. This doesn't have to be a selfish personal goal. It can be as simple as being a better member in the community. For example, being a better mother, father, brother, sister, relative, friend. You have full control over what you want to deem as a worthy goal or pursuit. Now that you are able to truly find whatever is meaningful to pursue, that would be what I believe you should shoot to aim for and obtain. Because until you have developed goals and objectives for yourself throughout your life, you'll not have any satisfaction. You're going to be stuck in a negative, angry, depressed overall not pleased with the direction that your life is headed in. There's a distinct difference between satisfaction or happiness and meaningfulness. There is order to these two terms. If you place happiness above meaningfulness, then you're in a way asking for chaos to control your life. You're just going to be taking a ride on the chaos roller coaster, baby. It might be fun for a little bit, but let me tell you, it'll wear you the fuck out. Happiness is just the feeling of being content and the feeling of being okay with how things are presently. Meaningfulness, on the other hand, is more synonymous to bettering yourself and the larger community through that which you will find greater amounts of happiness than you ever could have before by merely pursuing solely physical pleasures. If you're not improving your life and or the life of others, you are for the most part wasting your time on this rock. One can find happiness without finding meaningfulness, but one cannot find meaningfulness without finding happiness. There is a very important distinction between these two terms. I believe that there are several pieces in each and every one of our deoxyribonucleic acid, aka in our DNA, aka the building blocks of life, that prohibits us from experiencing true and lasting happiness without the pursuit of something meaningful. We have been designed by nature or by some higher power in such a way that we won't find enlightenment without the pursuit of meaningfulness and some sort of purpose. I'm not alluding to the idea that you have to be engaging with a deity type figure for purpose. You can define it and implement it in your life yourself. You don't need to belong to a cult-like organization to help define it for you. But by all means, if this type of cultish framework resonates with you, then go for it. As long as you don't take their ideas to the extreme and start putting other people down for not accepting the same support system as you because they don't agree with the religion of your choosing or whatnot. Okay, folks, that's about all I have for this first podcast. Please leave a like and subscribe. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to email me at PeaceLoveWarPodcast@gmail.com. Again, PeaceLoveWarPodcast@gmail.com. Feel free to shoot me an email with whatever questions you have that you'd like me to tackle in future podcasts. Thanks very much for tuning in and have a great rest of your day. Peace.